Right, young Master Adcock.
You're very kind. I'm definitely older than you. Just saying.
Listen, time is irrelevant,
State of mind, right?
meaningless.
Yeah.
It is to be
Right.
young, I think.
Right, we might as well spend it doing something good though. So I'm going to ask you some questions.
Cool.
Because we like doing that to
Yeah.
people. What is the first book you remember reading and enjoying?
Ooh. Well, if I'm honest, it was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. But I didn't only got surface level enjoyment from that, you know, lions and stuff, and I was like, okay. The first book
Yeah.
I can say I loved was probably The Rats in the school library at about age 12 by James Herbert. And it was one of those books that had legend around the school. You know, if you'd read The Rats, you immediately had some credibility. And I was very short on credibility because my mum was a Jane Austen freak. And before I'd gone to high school, I'd read the entire works of not just Jane Austen, but the Bronte sisters as well, and most of Dickens.
Yeah.
And so I'm there in the playground, day one, trying to make friends, saying, oh, you know, that Mr. Darcy, he's a bit of a cad, isn't he? And then, boof, I get punched in the face and called a wanker. And I realised that I needed to up my literature game in terms of...
Or just not hang out with Wickham fans, I guess.
I guess. But reading James Herbert was badass. It still will shock you now. And as a 12-year-old, it probably started my journey towards horror and darkness.
Well, I'm sorry that happened to you. I would have hung out with you, man.
Yes, man. It's a different time now. You know, like I said, I'm probably much
Yeah.
younger than you, so you know, yeah, people weren't as enlightened back in the day.
So Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, surface level, then The Rats. So we've got the horror elements and stuff like that. But was there anything in that you've definitely sort of like held on to as like a stylistic tool?
Yeah, I mean, James Herbert is a master of kind of concise prose. He doesn't go for flowery kind of, you know, all over the place kind of chapters. And lots of people said about Complete Darkness is that it's almost too succinct. They said this is before it became a comic. They were like, it's almost a screenplay or a comic kind of, you know, direction. It's like, okay, interesting. And I think I've picked up that kind of style from him. So he doesn't piss about with unnecessary additional detail. But there's enough. And when he hits hard with the shocks, they leave you reeling. So, you know, there's gut punches there, stuff that you won't ever forget. And my dream, I suppose, is that there will be passages of my book that you'll read and it'll stick with you. Maybe not even in a good way, but you'll always just be like, oh God. Yeah.
You're talking about you've picked stuff up from that and from The Rats and taken it with you, and you're looking for those moments that people are gonna carry away. But when you're actually in the process of writing those parts, what is it in the writing process that brings you satisfaction?
It's a good question. My honest rule of thumb is I like to write longhand into hardback books rather than screen. Then I do my first edit when I write. I transcribe it from the book into laptop, and the pleasure I get when I put a piece of text in from the book, and I chuckle to myself, or I disgust myself, or I have one of those strong emotions from something that I've written in my own handwriting. That is a joyful thing that you can't really bottle. It's it probably makes me sound like a bit of a mentalist, but I love it. You know, it's and the text that doesn't engage you is the stuff that's more likely to get left in and never see the light of a LED screen. Yeah, it's that two-part process. So write anything, because your first draft can be as rubbish as you like, but it only really keep the stuff that engages you on some core level. That's how I work. If you read my book, and you'll probably worry about me afterwards.
Well, I mean, I think you're among good company there. It's that sort of active creation is really fun, and there's nothing better than when you get excited about your own writing. I think on a personal
It
level.
sounds in a way kind of like moving it from paper to a screen makes it real
Yeah, that's true.
for you,
Hmm.
that's really cool. It's
Yeah.
for me, it's reading it out loud because it's just ideas that I've got onto a page, and as soon as I start reading it out, I have that same thing. You know, it's that joke, I've made myself laugh. That must be a good joke, or you know, I just know how my own broken sense of humor works. That must add more knobs, you know.
Yeah.
But
You actually mentioned before we came on, Mike, that you had a little bit of a hang up about reading out stories a while ago. I
Oh,
believe.
I mean, I have a trauma because my first public reading I did was at TysonCon in Belfast, and I kind of got stage fright because the guy who was on before me was George R.R. Martin of his small books like Game of Thrones. Anyway, he not only is he an excellent writer for fantasy, god level, but he's also a really fucking funny guy as well, and he had killer anecdotes. The crowd were loving him so much. I just honestly felt a bit overawed, in every way. I was still laughing at his anecdote about a party where, because he's getting on. He's not a young chap anymore. He's saying he used to go to parties and look for the most attractive female to talk to. Now he just goes and looks for the comfiest cushion to sit on so he can have a little snooze. I was like, yeah, this is our future. This is I can see myself going now, unfortunately.
maybe you should stop sleeping at parties and write your goddamn book,
Yeah,
George.
Rise of Winter. Gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
God,
following that was a tough
people
one.
have really gone through like stages of grief with that book, haven't they? Like even before it's come out, people have like condemned it, said it's never going to happen.
You seen
Oh
the film?
wow! I would hate to be in his shoes in that particular regard. In every other regard, in terms of his writing,
Yeah.
I'd be happily be him, but not that
Yeah,
one.
to be fair, you do love a cushion,
Oh,
don't you?
I do
that's
love a
cool.
cushion, yeah.
Oh,
Did you see Logan Lucky, the film where the prisoners riot because they think the book's out and it's being withheld from them? This film, it's a great scene.
No, I haven't seen it. It's got Daniel Craig
It
in it.
has,
So.
yeah, doing a Southern Drawl. It's basically his audition for Last Night.
Oh, Knives Out.
That's out, yes.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that movie. I thought it was okay
Yeah.
actually. I quite like those kind of murder mystery, like Agatha Christie type ones.
Yeah.
And it was quite an interesting one. Yeah, and it was pretty too, so which helps.
Yeah, good cast.
enough of the handsome Bondman.
No longer.
What is your favourite novel?
Of all time, The
Yes.
Bridge by Ian Banks. Ian Banks changed my life. Just and in a way that James Herbert shocked me and made me see that books can be a visual medium in your own mind that can disturb you. Ian Banks rewrote the rules with his Wasp Factory because I was only about 17 when it came out, and it's again a shocking book with highly violent and dubious scenes in it. But he went on to write a whole space opera with culture called, with Consider Phlebas, which is it's just a staggering epic odyssey. And he wrote those under Ian M. Banks, but then he wrote his contemporary fiction under Ian just Banks. And The Bridge is called a hidden culture novel, which has little Easter eggs of his sci-fi novels in it, but it's set in a weird dystopian real world situation, broken into three parts, and one part is written in barbarian language. So you've got this guy kind of like Conan or Thud the Barbarian, who speaks in a broken sort of Scottish kind of even more distorted than Irving Welsh's Trainspotting language. And that is, it just showed that you can push the boundaries so far with what you put and still make a fantastic book at the end of it. So it doesn't play by any of the normal rules. It's not a cohesive novel, but it is excellent, and it's an experience, and you'll remember. And like I said, that's the common theme. I want books to be memorable, and The Bridge I could recommend to anybody who hasn't had a book truly change their whole paradigm, and I'd be surprised.
I love it when people have like the book ready to go in their
Yes,
hand.
on
They're just
deck.
like, you have to fucking read this. It's such a powerful thing because obviously we know that you're deeply in love with storytelling and have created your own stories. So to hear you talk about it like that is actually really moving. It's really fun. Actually, 2 guests in a row that recommended Ian Banks.
You should read him. He's great.
Well, he should come on. Come on, Ian.
Dead,
He's dead, man.
Come on. Get him on. That'd be a
Listen,
scoop.
I reckon I can.
Well, we are the hardest
Yeah.
podcast in the world, so potentially we are
world's
necromancers
hardest
too.
podcast.
I did meet him when he was alive, fortunately, and he gave me some great advice about writing as well. So that was, part of that whole community of passing on, so same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of play. I love that about people. It isn't very little. It wasn't kind of like sort of wanky artists that kind of like, oh, I don't really want to see you succeed because it might somehow be to my dick. I mean, like,
Oh yeah, that's horrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very hard. What was the advice?
Oh, okay, so the reason I'm writing hardback books long-handedly is that Ian Banks told me to. He said, write in a style that works for you. Don't play by the rules. Keep a book with you or notepad or phone or whatever you need to do with you pretty much at all times. And then have an idea, write it down. No matter how wacky it is, doesn't have to have any context. Then what you'll find is there'll be time that you have on your hands. You don't feel inspired. You don't feel like, oh, I can write now. But if you open your book of ideas, suddenly that spark that you had there, and you can extrapolate from that, and it actually works. So that's why I had to put footnotes in Complete Darkness, because I had too many ideas per page, and I wanted to not lose them. I wanted to pack it so densely in there. So it was having a bit of a fit because so we agreed that footnotes might be the way forward, and it was a lot of fun. That's the advice. Write all the time.
It's fantastic advice. I actually already do that,
Oh,
but I do it because Terry Pratchett used to carry around a satchel full of notepads that had his different things that he was working on, and he did very similar things. So it's clearly a winning ticket, that one. I think.
Yeah.
Good to pass it on. Well done.
I have an incomprehensible Google Doc that gets things spewed onto it.
I thought you just sang to yourself in the shower and your stories just fell out.
Sometimes.
Wow.
He's a very, very talented man, is Nico.
Speaking
of... So did I trip you up there?
A little bit. I mean, it's because of the story I just told. That does often fall out in the shower. Right, we're kind of on the path somehow. When you're writing, do you listen to music? And if you do, what's your genre?
Oh my God, this is feel called out here. I don't know if I really want to admit it, but I will. I'll tell you. I listen to Taylor Swift.
Oh God, I was thinking, what's the worst thing that he could say? Oh, it'd probably be Taylor Swift, and then you said Taylor Swift. Wow.
In fact,
go
on.
My
next book, I have, and this is an Ian Banks reference. I have spaceships with their own analytical minds that don't need humans to pilot them. They are entities in their own right. I've given them some names of Taylor Swift lyrics. So there's a spaceship called "I Polish Up Nice" from the new album Midnight's song "Bejeweled." And my dream is that she'll some way read my book and realise that I've plagiarised some of her lyrics in it, and be so impressed that she'll invite me on tour with her or something. I don't know.
Just to confirm for me, Ben, because I'm clearly not in touch with this stuff. Is she dead?
No, she's not dead.
Cool. Right, no, good. I just, I don't want to start anything.
So you can listen to music with lyrics.
Yeah. No, they will end up in the book.
Mm.
So there's a problem.
I think there's something about especially her later stuff. Maybe she's got a very even tone when she sings.
That's true.
Almost like so I'm just wondering whether that might help, because if she was constantly going through her range, then potentially that might be quite distracting. But sort of keeping it even.
Yeah.
I did hear someone was it? I think I may have read an article potentially, but one of the reasons that people have sort of broken down why her music is so accessible is because she speaks very concisely, and it's really clear. You can hear all of the lyrics and it makes sense, and there's a story being told, and it's being told in this even tone, and it means that she has absolute clarity of storytelling in her songs, which is very impressive.
It's an art form, and she's also clever. Her wordplay is great. People write her off as some blonde, but if you listen to her lyrics, there's clever stuff going on there that she's obviously thought about or paid someone to think about for her. I don't know which it is, but I thank you guys. Can I just say thank you, because I feel kind of liberated having got that out there, because it's a secret I've
Oh,
held for many years.
yeah.
I
No,
will.
I think it's fascinating.
I will share a little juicy tidbit. Ben often comments on the fact that I can listen to, and it's nice to find someone else who can listen to stuff with lyrics. You wanna know how fucking unhinged I am at the moment? That mental story I read in the
Yeah.
last episode, I wrote that listening to a Christmas songs
No.
playlist out loud in the room.
I've already got the ambulance coming to your house, man. You are
It's a
going in
lesson.
You're going in the jacket this time, man.
It wasn't even like November, was it? By then, God, I mean, damn.
Things have
Oh.
gone wrong, gentlemen.
Mariah Carey has
Oh.
breached.
Oh,
That's a mental injury.
no, less of that. Right, I've got to move on
Sorry.
from that. What is the least enjoyable trope in fiction for you?
Ooh, okay. Thanks to my mum, and having read romantics and gothic novels and literary fiction from a young age, it takes something quite special to really annoy me now. I guess the other thing, I don't know if you find this, is that maybe some of your guests have written stuff, and then who knows, quality does vary amongst authors. And when you're an author, you sometimes get other authors who want you to read the stuff, and you want to be nice, you want to be supportive, but some of it's utter shit. And yeah, so when something is just so badly written that you can't even get through a page of it, that is my real hang up. I don't mean as if it's not. The idea might be there. There might be something creative. There might be, a plot that you want to get behind and you want to like. But they just, and I'm not even talking about typos. I'm just talking about things that just don't make sense, or are so badly structured that it hurts your head to even read it. That's my problem with. Can I call crapness a trope? I mean,
it's a bold move to say the thing I like least in fiction is when it's shit. That's strong.
So shit. I mean, I'm not even going to name names, but there's people out there probably do know who it is, don't they? They kind of, you can tell, but they're sometimes really enthusiastic about it until you actually read their stuff, and they're very quiet, and they don't bother you for the review because they know that you're probably trying to find the nicest way of saying, don't read this book because it'll hurt your head.
Oh no!
I really want to know.
Oh,
I'm getting you off mic after this.
Strong arm it out of you. Bloody hell. That is bleak,
Sorry.
man.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we will accept that answer. So
I think it would be dangerous not to.
At this stage, potentially, considering you're about to be locked up anyways. Oh. Bloody hell. So, what is your process when it actually comes to creating your story? So we know that the physical act of putting it in the book into the thing, but how do you plot your books? Are you a pantser? Do you have is everything like really strictly ordered? Do you have like a big like Excel spreadsheet that you put all your bits into? Like how do you work?
I wish
it to create.
I wish I was a plotter. I stand in awe of those people who have those sort of brains who can do that. I've got someone who's trying to work out how to make an audiobook out of Complete Darkness, and it's so many points of view, such fractured narrative, and all the footnotes and all that sort of stuff. He's created an Excel spreadsheet out of it, and it looks like the ramblings of a deranged mind. That shows that I didn't think it through in any length. I just went with what was feeling good at the time, and if the plot was amusing me, if something came into my mind and it was disturbing, I thought, yeah, this is just going to shock the reader, I just throw it in there. So I very much make it up as I go along. And if I'm listening to a particular Taylor Swift album, you might get a bit of romance. Who knows? It is a melting pot of ideas, but it's hopefully all killer, no filler. That's the kind of.
All killer, no filler. So, how does the drafting process fit into that for you? Is it? Do you have a fairly extensive drafting process, or is it? Does it come out pretty well done?
No, it does take a lot of jumbling, and I also, this is the other thing. When I write into my hardback books, I don't write in sequential order, so I will just drop a note in here or there, and go forward 10 pages and drop a note there. So I've got a blank page in between, which is fun when you go back to just look for ideas. it's a horror show if you're trying to find a cohesive narrative. You've got it down.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's like a choose your own adventure thing without the numbers to go from. Yeah, so I'm my own worst enemy in that respect. But
But it really works because it obviously you've finished the novel and you put it out. It's
and got published. I mean, that was the thing. I had so many rejection letters initially because people didn't get their head around what it was. I'm sure. So I'm not saying I'm a great author, but I saw some of the authors who have gone more outlandishly have probably had similar sort of things. And I know Ian Banks himself he only just got published because one of the submissions that he'd sent in, this was for Wasp Factory, got thrown in the bin by the author, and his wife, the author's wife, or the publisher's wife, sorry, found the manuscript. She couldn't sleep. She had a little read of it herself just to amuse herself, and then she badgered her husband and said, "Look, this is brilliant. Don't throw this one away. This is a thing." So that arbitrary chance of just being there at the right time, and
you hear a lot of stuff about that sort of thing, don't you? Like, there's all those stories about Rowling's work being one of the publisher's daughters or something wanting to know what happened to the boy wizard. Like, how much of it's
who knows?
Is it really that bullshitty?
I think it might be. Unfortunately, there's a great kind of cartoon. I think it might be Far Side or something. It's got like the person who turned down Stephen King talking to the person who turned down J.K. Rowling at a party. It's just like fantastic. Like, yeah.
So what was your own sort of publishing journey, if I could call it that? Like, so it sounds like you got all the rejections.
And not for the same reasons. Like, some are too weird. Some was it's got some. It's got the devil and stuff in it. And it's we don't do religion. I was like, okay. I mean, all right. Have you actually read it? But anyway, and so yeah, lots of riches. Eventually, found this guy who we became friends, and he then said to me, "Oh look, I actually published a book." I was like, "No way." I've got a book. It was like literally that conversation in the pub. He was like, "Well, look, I'll have a read for it. I can't promise anything, because I normally turn people down." I was like, "That's your job, right? To turn people down." And then, but he got it, and amazingly, yeah, I've made him some money. So that's that's a good thing. Again, really arbitrary, fantastic. Right place, right time.
Yeah. Oh. Bloody hell! Well, I'm very glad that worked out. It's and then obviously you've springboarded that into the comic book. And are they is the same publisher that's going to do your second novel as well?
He does want another novel in the same universe, but I'm talking to another publisher about a heist thriller. So this is not sci-fi. Let me just pitch it to you quickly. The film Point Break. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And the film Aliens. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's good reference points that you need for this. Basically, what if there was in the 90s this lovable team of robbers who had seen aliens and were obsessed with cosplaying as the Marines, decided to use that as their disguise when they rob banks, and that's when shit kicks off. That's it.
I suspect people are going to love it.
Maybe.
People be shouting, "They're coming out for the goddamn shelves!"
Take this under consideration with the shotgun.
So, I mean, an especially good question for when you're writing a thriller, anything with got mystery and drama elements. How do you know when you're done? Like, how do you know when the book you're writing is actually finished?
I mean, that's a really good question. I don't know, because I'm not a plotter. I don't know what I ever do. I think for the heist thriller I can do it because there's an ending I have in mind, so I'm kind of writing towards that point. But with the sci-fi, the world of sci-fi, you can do literally anything. Some might say it's a cop out, but I had the climatic fight in Complete Darkness, and then I put a sort of teaser that would lead to another book. Almost like a Marvel after the credit scene, literally there. Sure. And then I put in an epilogue as well to try and explain it to people who didn't understand the fucking book. Just to amuse myself. I was like, God.
And here's for the thickos. One for the cheap seats.
Some people don't get it. I mean, I've had great. I always retweet my 1-star reviews, from Amazon and stuff, because I think that's funny. And one person just put, "Too sci-fi, too horny." Okay, 4-word review. Nice. Yeah, great.
And actually, I think that's its selling point.
I'm going to put that on the next cover.
Is that a review or a confession? Like, I would have to reply and be like, Like you or the book?
That dude's
Because I can
definitely
help
jerking
either
off
I like
on
way.
how your
Vandal.
mind works.
Oh well, I like the idea of venerating the 1-star reviews. I think that's
Yeah.
got
Never
some
trust
legs
a
because
book with only 5-star reviews. Because I know it sounds counterproductive, but like, look at all the good books out there, the books you love. They'll all have some 1-stars. Like Ian Banks, he's a load of 1-star reviews.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have a book out there that some people love, some people hate. If you'll get like 3-star
Sure.
reviews and everyone's just like, it's all right, I don't think you've done a very good job, for my own opinion. But that's just because I like extremes and wildness.
yeah. But you're totally correct. I mean, if we look at like you just jump back to cinema, for example, at the moment, if you have movies that are repeatedly catering for the lowest common denominator, that are essentially written by committee in order to tick the most boxes, guess what they're going to be? Utter shit. Like that, they're gonna get more and more boring, which is exactly what's happened with most of the franchises. And you get end with Dross that nobody likes because everyone's it's okay. That's not art. That's not like what anyone's life's work
No,
should be.
and I'm more of a fan
horrid.
of arty kind of left field cinema. I know it probably comes as a shock to you, but one of the joys of my life as well has been that I was a film reviewer for a bunch of newspapers. So for 20 years, I had to go to the cinema for free every week, and that was tough. But I did it.
That's horrible.
And it was a great input source, so vary up the sort of films I was doing, and obviously I was writing at the same time. So that constant flow of new innovative ideas from the screen was a good one for me.
Worst film we ever had to review. Gotta know.
Rollerball
Yeah,
remake,
definitely.
without a doubt. I don't know if you've seen the James Caan original 70s film. There's no war in the future. You basically play this roller skating game called Rollerball, where you're allowed to beat the shit out of each other, and that's quite brutal and it's dated now, but it's a great film in my opinion. Anyway, they made a remake of it in the early 2000s, I think it was, and instead of the arena with roller skates, they had like skateboarding luges and made it into dude, this is extreme sport now. Like I was just laughing at it, but not with it. I've seen some crappy films that I can really enjoy, but this one was just so terrible. And if it had been made by a newcomer, I may have given it a pass. It's made by John McTiernan, who made fucking Die Hard. I was like, no, mate, you've dropped a bollock here. It's not good.
Sounds like someone cashed a check, is what it sounds like. Oh wow, yes, that's like.
He wasn't even in most days.
What was it? The Mad Max guy, the guy that did Happy Feet 2.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, Miller. That's it. Yeah. Oh, that kind of thing is horrendous, isn't it?
My favourite story like that is that the live action Garfield movies they made. They're directed by someone called Joel Cohen.
No way.
What?
Yeah, not Joel of Joel and Ethan Cohen, but it's a guy whose name is Joel Cohen. So this script turns up with Bill Murray's agent, who calls Bill Murray and says, "We've had a script through from Joel Cohen. He wants you in it as the lead." And Bill Murray signs up immediately. And that was how he ended up being the fucking voice
brilliant.
of Garfield.
Oh my god, I love that story. That's the best.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Imagine like coming and being like, "Oh, I can't wait. Is Ethan coming too?" Who?
It's not quite as quirky as your other
sorry,
stuff. Yeah. Oh.
I sort of tip my cap off to you doing it for that long. Nico and I's first sort of foray into doing something creative with each other was we did a. No, we'd already done that at university. But it was a film review blog site because that was what was happening at the time. This was 10 years ago, or whatever, and it was called Real to Real.
We went number 2.
No, 2 as in like too much.
Even better. Okay,
real as in film reel.
Yeah.
Too much. And then real as in reality.
Bit more of a visual gag, that one.
Most of mine are.
Yeah. Anyway, and what we did was because I love movies, and in particular I love good movies, and Nico has an insanely beautiful appreciation for utter trash movies. So we decided that what we were going to do was we were going to take find a list of the best 100 movies ever and the worst 100 movies ever, and then every week we would swap who was doing the
nice.
best and who was doing the
Interesting.
worst. And it lasted for about, I don't know, did we get about 12 done? 12, 15? Something like that?
Give or take.
I just couldn't do it, man. Like every week where I had to do a bad one, I was just like, I'm struggling. For a start, it was really difficult to find them because they just don't really exist properly.
Well, there was one that was, so it was not long before Trump ran for president. Do you remember there was a movie we were trying to get that he was in that you just couldn't get anywhere anymore because he basically bought it out? But I also through it watched the live action Bratz movie, and I will never get that time back.
I
like bad movies. I don't like self-abuse.
I heard that the CIA are not allowed to do waterboarding anymore. They do make them watch the Bratz live action movie now if they get a terrorist.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find the review I wrote and we'll read it out on the Patreon because it's the most vitriolic thing I've ever done.
I'm glad you did because when I was at the newspaper, like I used to go to some of these screenings. I met some of the stars at the junkets and stuff. Great, I won't name drop like Bruce Willis and De Niro, but it was a lot of fun. And but the trouble with it was going with the other critics because a lot of them would do it by consensus. Literally coming out of a film going, what do you think? Oh no, I think about a 3. Yeah, maybe about a 3. I'm like, fuck you. I liked it a lot. I'm giving it a 5. They're like, oh, you can't give it a 5. I'm like, fuck off. I'm giving it a 5. I liked it. They're like, oh, no.
Oh, that really leaves a really bad taste in the mouth, doesn't it?
Gross.
Yeah, that's like those
These would have. I won't tell you exactly who, but if I say people like The Guardian and stuff, I was disappointed, because these have been a bit of my heroes, and I was enjoying the chance to hang out with them, and then suddenly I was like, oh really? That's not cool.
People do like form like completely blinkered loyalties to publications or particular film critics, and I don't really fully understand it. A long time ago, roughly around the time I started writing film reviews for this blog that we were doing, I just stopped. Yeah, exactly. It's real. I just stopped. I think it's still up somewhere. I just stopped reading reviews before I went to the cinema, like at all. Because I have no interest in anyone else's opinion in a movie that I'm definitely going to go and see anyway. I'll read it afterwards, like definitely afterwards, but not.
I always made me really happy when I came out. I'm actually opposed or different to other people's things, And I used to tease them sometimes. I'd start a review like Alien vs Predator 2. I said I started making it sound like it was going to be the best thing ever. Like how could it fail with such huge monsters, iconic, and went for a couple of paragraphs of what would be a really glowing review, and then went none of that's true. And, my paper was allowed let me do it. I was like, thanks for that. That was fun.
Nice one.
We've been in the right ballpark for this question for a little bit, so I'm going to ask it.
A little bit.
If you could adapt any book into another medium, what would it be? To which medium and why?
And unfortunately for you, you've already adapted your book into.
I'm not a big fan of authors who go their own works and say, "Oh yeah, I'd love to see my book be a film with Ryan Gosling." I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't, but if
I'll put the check away, Ben. He doesn't want.
Oh damn it! Doesn't want a goose's check.
I would. I mean, at the risk of sounding like repetitive, if there was a filmmaker, maybe Denis Villeneuve, who would take on The Bridge, cast it well, and have the balls to go with the full violence and the full out there, un-PC-ness of it all in this day and age, that I would take my hat off to someone who could do that, because the Right On Brigade would vilify it and tear it apart. But I think it's almost become like a curb now. Even I seek out the most disturbing horror films, and they've all been fairly neutered, and I'm like, oh come on, So if someone.
The Right On Brigade is an interesting like sound clip. I think you're right. That kind of like what would you call it? Like sort of denaturizing of creativity, maybe like just sort of like showing stuff to fire to the point that it's not really art anymore. Neutering. But you're right, Denis Villeneuve.
It's neutering, isn't it? It's and I've had people take issue with the more extreme elements of my book, and I'm like, It's okay. If you didn't like it, that's okay. You know, you're a normal human being. You're not supposed to like it. It's supposed to shock you and make you disturbed. They're like, oh, you shouldn't write that sort of thing. I'm like, why not? You don't have to read it. It's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and also I think that the world should come together to pay Denis Villeneuve to just do nothing else apart from make movies, because I would just see Denis Villeneuve movies all the time if that was an option. I remember the first one that I ever saw. I was introduced by a friend. Was Sicario.
Yes, what a film! Oh yeah,
and it's just a crazy good movie. Absolute like phenomenal storytelling. It looks amazing.
Real menace in
and
it
then
too.
and then he like yes, menace. And then next thing I hear, he's doing Blade Runner and then Dune. It's fucking hell. This is gonna be amazing, and they were. So yeah, I'm in. I'm down. So Denis.
We don't even need a cast. We've got Denis, but go on, Ben.
Well, he does bring it out of people. I think like he even got performance out of Zendaya a little bit in Dune. That didn't
nearly.
People didn't like it. Nearly got a performance out.
Valiantly.
Oh, valiantly, yeah. So we've had the bridge being turned into a Denis Villeneuve epic. But where should people start reading your work? Should they start with the short story? Should they start with Complete Darkness? What's the...
Well, this is actually really glad you asked this question, because I have a new book coming out called Battle Mages Don't Clean Their Teeth. This, as you might get from the title, is more of an all-age accessible book. It's actually written, illustrated by a 16-year-old autistic girl that I know. She's going to be a big talent. So she's done these characters and they are characters from Complete Darkness. So it's kind of a spin-off tale. But she's autistic. She said, look, I'm not going to colour them in. I want people to read it, to be able to colour in the characters as they're feeling as they go through it. So it's almost like a mindfulness exercise, which is probably unique in the cyberpunk world. So yeah, I have this coming out. It looks fun. It's we're just talking to the Autism Society about getting an endorsement from it potentially as well, which would look good. That's in the back of that is the advert for comic, and in the back of the comic is the advert for the novel. So if you're going to go on a journey, kind of like a gateway drug, hopefully will be Battle Mages Don't Clean Their Teeth. Also has a strong kind of parental win in that, you know, if you don't clean your teeth, the devil will smash your teeth out. That's the kind of the moral of the story. So you know, yeah. So hopefully there's a bit of fear of losing your teeth will engender a new wave of dental hygiene amongst cyberpunk fans, which will be great. But it's get them young and keep them keen, and then continue feeding them throughout their life with more content. That's my my plan.
I'm really enjoying hearing about the like all the different ways that you're being creative and telling your stories. It's really fun, man. Like this is what people should be doing. I strongly feel that.
I can't help it. I've worked in communications and film reviews and stuff for my whole life, and I feel like I've been training to get published and have this platform to be able to put stuff out there, because so many. Again, you know, I go to book fairs and I talk to the other authors. So many of them have got a great book, but they don't know how to market it, and they don't really have any idea as to how to do promo and stuff. When I hear that I did a Kickstarter to get the comic going, and you know, we gave out a chance to be drawn into the comic at the highest tier. So there's 3 people in the world who stumped up 150 quid, and now they've all got a unique a double-page spread with their character in the bar talking to Cleric and stuff, and they got to choose their own line of dialogue, which I'm going to print, you know, on a high-quality print for them to put on their walls and stuff.
Yeah,
that sort of immortality. I was going to say you can't buy, but you can. You can just buy it in my Kickstarter when you go for the highest tier.
Oh, fantastic! And then also, I know we mentioned it last episode, but you also are part of the duo of Hosts in the Shell, which is a cyberpunk discussion podcast, which people should definitely
it's mad
check out.
fun. It's just basically 2 guys just who love cyberpunk chatting about cyberpunk and getting guests on who mostly love cyberpunk as well. We've had a lot of fun doing that, and we don't do it very professionally, but people seem to like it, and it's a great kind of it's a little community going up around it. So that's nice.
We come on and play the part of people, even though we do, who hate cyberpunk. Just for fun. I only like meat people. Robotics are boring. I think it would be a fun thing to do.
It's abomination unto
Cool. No,
God.
we should definitely do that. That'd be hilarious. Do a spoof episode one time.
Jesus would never have robot knees.
The 2,000-year-old Nazarene has no knees.
That's going to be a character in my next book.
He walks on water with a miracle. Not his
That
feet.
idea. I'm copywriting that. That's going in my next book.
Oh, it's slapped with the
Hyper
TM
Jesus
straight away. I
going
love
in there.
Right, and where is the best place for people to stalk you and your
Gosh.
work? Likely Twitter,
I mean,
perhaps?
yeah, at Cleric20 is me on all social media, so Twitter, Facebook, so Instagram. It's also my email address. So if you want to send me your crap novel to have a look at.
Crikey, are you putting out your email address?
But yeah, it's out there. You can find it.
And the three little numbers on the back of the card,
yeah.
what are they?
Mother's maiden name?
Yeah, it's all there. I put it all
wonderful.
on my blog, which is darkmat.blogspot.com, which is where my film reviews are. Because I'm so old that when I started reviewing for the newspapers back in 2001, I think it was, they didn't have a website for the review. Their website didn't have a film review section, so I started putting them on there myself, and so that was kind of fun.
That's a nice setup for you, that one. I like that you got yourself there. That's good. Well, fantastic. It's been absolutely lovely to talk stories with you, and I know I really enjoyed listening to your story as well.
Cool.
So we'll have to catch you around, man. But thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Tiny Bookcase.
Remember to subscribe, otherwise you're going to miss out on the future fun.
Also, tell a friend. If you like this episode, link them to it.
We'd be tremendously grateful. You can follow us on Twitter at BookcaseTiny, Facebook at The Tiny Bookcase, and Instagram at BookcaseTiny for updates. Speaking of supporting the podcast, well, magic can only take one so far. The Tiny Bookcase is supported by the generosity of its patrons. Those kind souls have really kept my belly full the last year. Let's cast a spell for them, shall we? For magnificent beardery, let's cast the Chinicus folliculale spell on Gary Laird. For rich ginger tones on the scalp, let us cast the Orangi Hedondo spell for Scott Byrne. And for general fabulousness, why not the Ooh La La, How's Your Mother spell on Matthew McLaren?
How do you come up with that shit, man?